Hello everyone, a Shabby Gamer here, and it's a very different video to what I normally would do, but today I want to discuss my opinions on the recent Euro 2021, or Euro 2020, whatever it's called. I feel like I've got a very cynical view of the whole thing, so my view will be quite different to other people. I have looked a lot more at some of the things that were wrong rather than some of the things that were right, and I know that's going to rub some people up the wrong way. I do encourage anybody to comment down below if you want to have a constructive argument about things. Obviously, just calling people names and this and that and the other is absolutely pointless, but if you want to have a constructive argument about what you think was right and what you think was wrong, then please do so. So I think we'll start things off. Let's start things off positively. I'm going to talk about the things that I believe that were good from this tournament. Obviously, England made their first major final in a very long time, over 50-odd years, I believe it was. Only conceded 2 goals all tournament. Never lost a game, technically. Of course, the final was a draw. Luke Shaw, as a Man United fan, so happy to see Luke Shaw's revival continue on. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he brings that back into the club this season. Maguire and Stone seem to have developed quite a good partnership as well, and both being sort of mid to late 20s. We've still got them for a couple more tournaments, so that is a pretty solid centre-back pairing moving forward. Same thing as well with Rice and Phillips, both pretty young players, and we're going to see some good stuff from them moving forward. And yeah, so far, pretty damn solid. And I was quite impressed. I weren't expecting Phillips to be as good as he actually was, to be honest with you. I mean, I'd seen him play for Leeds and so forth this season, but I didn't quite realise just how good he was in that position. It linked up fantastically well with Rice, and I feel like Phillips is pretty much a dark horse of ability in this competition. I've really been impressed with him. Of course, Sterling's revived himself after a pretty rough 1 or 2 years at Manchester City, not really been at his prime, but this tournament he has looked a bit better, and that might just rejuvenate his club career in this coming season. Jack Grealish. I mean, I've not really been caught up too much in the hype of Jack Grealish in this tournament, but one thing I must say is he has definitely improved the fan base of the country. I mean, I was in the bar watching the final myself, and I believe at least 50% of the female patrons had a Jack Grealish women's shirt on, with Grealish on the back, and yeah, he's definitely done himself fantastically well out of this tournament. Who else we got? We beat Germany, which is always a great thing to do. Was it by luck? That's something that I've sort of spoke about. I will speak about a bit more later on. Luck or just being clinical, I think it's you can look at it both ways, I suppose. We'll have a look at the stats a little bit later on. And it's a solid young squad. Not many players are old and probably won't make it to the next tournament. I think nearly everybody you should see in there for the next 2 or 3 tournaments moving forward. So it is a strong base to move forward on. The only con I have is the people. I think, obviously, it's not everyone. It's a very marginal part of people, but the fan base. I mean, after the final, and I saw the stuff on Twitter, and I saw the videos of people storming the stadium and fights happening in Leicester Square and that sort of stuff. I was glad England didn't win. I was glad because these people that do these sort of things do not deserve to be happy. I'm glad those people aren't happy. I know it's a real stupid thing. It's a, what's the phrase, the bite your nose off to spite your face situation. But I'm just really glad that these people did not get the satisfaction of seeing that. They don't deserve it. The way they acted and the way they continue to act is absolutely disgusting. So it was really, really bad for me. But that's the only real con I've got. Everything else, I'm going to do it in a very managerial-based way. I'm a manager at work, so what we do is we don't look at issues. We look at areas where we can improve. And I feel that there's quite a few of those. And I've got a few issues with the tournament myself that... I mean, I'm not a professional football manager. I mean, I play a lot of Football Manager the game, but I feel there's quite a few things that I personally would have done differently to Southgate, and we'll go through them. I mean, we'll start things off early on. We'll start off at the group stages. I mean, we had Croatia, Scotland, and Czech Republic. We played quite defensive in all 3 games, and we were by far the better team on paper. The only one I sort of agreed with being a bit more conservative with was probably the Croatia game. Because they are a bit more of a tricky team and they have beaten us in the past, of course knocked us out of the World Cup a few years ago, so I understood playing a bit more conservative there and holding back. But when you get into games like Czech Republic and Scotland, we have an overwhelming amount of ability on those players, and to sort of sit back with a quite defensive formation with the obviously the four at the back with the two defensive midfielders and the three attacking players or the four attacking players, we just didn't really click. And obviously Harry Kane was not in form as well. And I understand it was important to keep Kane in there to try and get him finding his scoring boots. But at the same time, you need to put people around him that are scoring those goals. And we were quite lucky. I mean, you know you're lucky when Raheem Sterling scores a header. I mean, the guy's like 4'1", and he managed to score a header. So we were quite lucky to do that. I mean, we should have got through the groups no matter what. There was no real argument there. It was a pretty easy group for us. We got very lucky considering that some of the other groups, especially Group F, which was absolutely mad, the one with France and Portugal and Germany, and that was a horrible group. But yeah, it was not the most impressive beginning, and it did cause a lot of online anger towards the England team and Southgate, and I feel like we should be utilising the other players we have. I mean, we've got some great players in this squad, and that's another thing I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, is the lack of using the squad, in my opinion. I feel this really hurt us. But next up, of course, we had the Germany game. Now, the Germany game was a huge one. First time in God knows how. I think is it the first time we ever beat Germany in a major tournament? I think it was, something like that. 2-0 win. Very good. Very, very good. We did, in my opinion, we did test our luck a little bit in that game. Germany, if you look at the stats of the game, Germany did control it. They had more possession, they had more shots, they had more passes, they had more key opportunities. But England were more clinical and took their opportunities when they need to. I mean, Germany had two big chances. If Muller had put that one-on-one in, it would have been 1-1, and that may have made the game very different. So we got a little bit lucky there that he put that wide, and I'm sure that Pickford will be claiming that his goalkeeping work was good enough to distract and cause him to put that one wide. But we test our luck a little bit there. And again, I'm not keen on this ultra defensive. We played 5 at the back, and for me it was a little bit risky because all you do is you invite the pressure on from the other teams, and some teams that are very talented going forward, eventually that pressure will be enough to get a goal, and we'll talk about that again a little bit later on towards the final. We also had Ukraine. Now, Ukraine was the big one. Ukraine, I mean, getting the early goal was massive. Ukraine guy got sent off as well, didn't he, if my memory serves me right? He got sent off, we got the early goal, and I think from there on, their heads dropped, and it was just a pretty easy game, that one. Ukraine just weren't quite with it. They didn't. I thought they had a man sent off. No, I'm completely wrong there. They didn't have a man sent off then. No, so they had the early goal conceded, and then the 46th and the 50th minute, and it was just a bit of a rout, that one. As soon as that first goal went in, I think Ukraine's heads dropped, and we did a very good job of controlling the game, and obviously just seeing it out. So that was pretty damn good. And then of course we had the semi-finals. The semi-finals are a debatable one. Denmark. Obviously missing their best player in Christian Eriksen. However, they very much impressed me with the ability they brought to this tournament. A lot of people always see them as just a sort of one sort of man team in Eriksen, but I think they definitely proved through a lot of different players. I mean, there's guys like Damsgaard was absolutely fantastic, of course, and you got Kasper Dolberg was fantastic when he finally got his opportunity. Højbjerg, we know from Spurs, and Delaney, of course, from over in Germany. They all did fantastically well, and of course Kasper Schmeichel, fantastic in goal as well. Again, I'm going to say a little bit. Well, I know, right. So the own goal. Let's remove the own goal, because if it wasn't an own goal, it would have been a tap-in finish for Sterling. So let's ignore the fact that that was an own goal, because it would have been a legit goal if it wasn't anyway. The penalty for me is debatable. There was contact. I think the penalty is very soft, but there was contact. To the letter of the law, I suppose it is a penalty. But for me, I would not like to rely on that being a penalty. And the way that Harry Kane took that penalty was very, very poor as well. And I think we may have, again, just touched our luck a little bit there. But again, it was well fought. It was well controlled, the game, but I do feel like we let Denmark have far too much of the game, and they did test quite often, and there was a lot of opportunities where we could have lost out, but there was opportunities we could have won as well. I mean, we had that Sterling opportunity where he was one-on-one and put it straight into Schmeichel, so it was back and forth, but again, it was a game that I feel like we should have dominated more. But then again, Denmark were fantastic in this tournament. They knocked out a lot of bigger teams than them, and they were the classic sort of team rather than a bunch of 11 fantastic players. They were a bunch of Good players, but they work together so well they become, what's the other phrase? The final part is greater than some of its parts or something like that. I don't know what it is. It's something like that, but they were absolutely fantastic, and we did well to get past them. But again, I feel like I would have liked to have been a little bit more convincing for a team that we want to go on and win the competition. I feel like we should have been a bit more convincing. And then, of course, there's the Italy game, the final. For me, this was tactically the worst game we did. The frustrating thing about this is, I think, not just me, I think a lot of people could. You could name that starting 11 for England and the formation as soon as the semi-final finished. You knew what it was going to be. And if we knew what it was going to be, the experts at Italy obviously knew what was going to happen. They obviously knew who was going to be playing. They obviously knew tactically how England were going to set up. And they were able to train and they were able to prepare for that. And I think that was one of our biggest issues. I also think the worst thing that England could have done was score early. And that's exactly what we did do. I know it sounds stupid, but I feel like because we scored early, they went from ultra defensive to super ultra defensive. And again, what I said earlier on about playing that ultra defensive style, you do just encourage teams to attack you. And eventually, if you let a great team attack you over and over and over again, eventually they're going to nick a goal. And that's exactly what Italy did. Now, as soon as they did nick a goal, Southgate did switch formation. He did go with a 4-4-2 rather than the 5-2-2-1. Yeah. So it was a lot more interesting after that. He brought on Saka and he brought on Henderson in the early 70th minutes. And I do not really agree with either of those two substitutions. The only reason I can see bringing Henderson on is if Declan Rice was literally running on fumes, which is very possible. Again, it's another thing I'm going to talk about in a moment, is rotation. The Saka one, I mean, I know a lot of people have been hyped up on Saka in this tournament, and he has done incredibly well, especially for a young lad who's not overly experienced, not played a huge amount of football so far in his career. I do feel like it was a very pressurised situation, and he has proved himself pretty good so far in this tournament. For me, when you've got players like Sancho on the bench, who's been one of the top assist makers in the Bundesliga 3 years in a row and contributing 30-plus goals through actually scoring himself in assists every season on the bench, and you bring on a young lad called Saka who's virtually unproven on this level, and you've also got Marcus Rashford, who's already played in a World Cup and already played in some massive tournaments at club level as well as international level. I just feel like there was better options to bring on to try and turn the game. I feel like Sancho for me would have been the best option because he likes to run at players, and the Italian players are a bit older. Their legs must have been getting a bit tired towards that sort of time, and if you have a fully fit, fully energetic Sancho running at those guys, there's a possibility they might make a mistake and draw a penalty. So for me, I felt like a Rashford or a Sancho would have been a better option than Saka for me, but Henderson for me, I'm still not a big fan of even taking Henderson, to be honest. I feel like there must have been a better option there. He was unfit, he barely played for so long, and I think that's what caused a lot of the issue with the lack of rotation. Now, when it comes to the penalties, it is what it is. I mean, it's a penalty shootout. It's complete luck of the draw. I'll defend the three guys that missed their penalties. I mean, Sancho and Rashford have barely touched the ball and just come onto a pitch full of adrenaline. I think they needed a good 10-15 minutes to sort of get them in the flow of the game and get their confidence up. I think just throwing them on there to take a penalty with nothing else and no warm-up is not great. Saka, I mean, the lad's never taken a penalty in his career, and he's put on the number 5 penalty. It just didn't make much sense to me at all, and it was tricky. I don't think they were the right people, especially when you got the likes of Sterling, who takes penalties for Man City sometimes. You've got Grealish, who takes the penalties for Villa. You've got Calvert-Lewin on the bench, who takes Everton's penalties, and it made little sense to me to have the players taking penalties that did. But I said you can't really moan at them. It's luck of the draw penalties. You can take a good one, you can take a bad one, but at the end of the day, it's literally going to go one or two ways, and there's no way you can really control it. So yeah, I was disappointed with the way that happened, but my two biggest issues the entire tournament, I feel, are, number one was just the overly defensive nature of the whole squad. I feel like England really had a better team on paper than the majority. I mean, apart from Germany and Italy, I think England had on paper the better team quite convincingly. And we didn't utilize that. We played so pessimistically and so contained in ourselves that we didn't really have a chance to show what we had. And it could have cost us on several levels. I mean, we only just got... We scored 2 goals in 3 games in the group. That should have been a lot higher. It could have cost us in the Germany game if Germany had taken their opportunities and England hadn't, which on a different day could have happened. It could have happened in the Denmark game, and I just feel like we needed to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more free-flowing, a little bit more risky. And that's what I think would have been the best option for me. And yeah, it's difficult. And I think the other big thing for me is the pure lack of rotation. I feel like there should have been more rotation. Let's have a quick look at it. I've got minutes played here. So Pickford played 690 minutes, full 7 games. Stones played the full 7 games. So Kyle Walker played 6 of the 7 games. Shaw played 7. Kane, Phillips, Sterling all played 7. Rice played 7. Maguire only played 6, of course, because he missed the first one due to his injury. Mason Mount played 6. Trippier played all 7 as well. Saka played 5, getting 271 minutes. Mings played 7 games as well. No, hang on a minute. Let me change my mind there. Okay, Pickford, Stones, Phillips, and Kane and Sterling all played 7. Walker and Shaw played 6. Rice played 7 as well. Maguire, Mount, Trippier played 5. Saka played 4. Mings played 3. Grealish had 5 substitute appearances, I think. Foden played 3. Henderson played 5. Sancho played 3. Reece James played 1. Rashford had 5. Bellingham had 3. And Calvert-Lewin had 2. So Rashford had 5 games, but out of those 5 games, he amassed 82 minutes. And for me, I just don't think that's enough for a player of his quality and his experience. To think that, there we go, Rashford, and I know I'm concentrating mainly on Rashford and Sancho, but they're the ones that I feel like, well, we can throw Calvert-Lewin in there as well. So add it up. So Sancho had 96 minutes, Rashford had 82. So what's that? That's 178 minutes. 188 minutes. 195 minutes. So Calvert-Lewin, Sancho, and Rashford had 195 minutes combined. Saka had 271. And I just feel like that there was other options. I mean, it's not just Saka. I know I'm concentrating on Saka, but I mean, Mason Mount, for me, I don't think really contributed enough in some games and should have been switched around. Calvert-Lewin, I feel like in some games we should have gone with 2 strikers. There was no need to be so defensive in all these games. We could have gone with 2 strikers. We could have gone a lot more aggressive in it. It could have been a lot better for us. And we've got the likes of Ben White and Ben Chilwell, Connor Cody, who didn't play a single minute in the entire tournament. And again, I feel like it's last night for me, but in the Italy game, England really did flag. And it's frustrating because I felt like we had one of the strongest in-depth squads. However, they just did not utilise it enough. We did not take advantage, and that's why got to about 60, 70 minutes in the Italy game, and half those players were absolutely knackered, running on fumes, and they weren't changed quick enough. I mean, a fully fit Sancho and a fully fit Rashford, I know I keep going on about this, but if he brought those 2 players on at the beginning of extra time rather than with 1 minute left, it could have been a completely different game. Those 2 guys, full of energy, full of pace, running at the Italians, could have made things so different. And it just frustrates me how we just played so one way the entire way through the tournament. Did we have a second plan? Did we have a plan that if all-out defence didn't work? I don't really know. And that's the things that I feel that we need to focus on more. I know Southgate is a defender. I know that he likes to manage in a very defensive way, but I feel like it just puts a harness on some of the more attacking flair players that have a lot of potential to show and can win games on their own for England. And that's the disappointing thing for me. I'm babbling on a bit now, aren't I, really? I'm just going round and round in circles. But yeah, for me, that was one of the issues. I feel like there should have been more rotation. We should have seen more players get more minutes. And I feel like it may have kept the freshness, and it would have also kept the opponents thinking, well, who are they going to put in? Who are they going to play against us? And that may have helped England out as well with a little bit of tactics. I mean, for me personally, last night, I know people have said you can't drop Harry Kane, but at the end of the day, I feel like 3 pacier attackers would have been better. I mean, even if you're going to keep Kane, I wouldn't have played Mount. I would have played either a Sancho or Rashford on the other side, or maybe drop Sterling as well. It's difficult to say, but I felt like having if you're going to go all out defence, your best form of getting a goal is going to be a counter-attack. So you need the pacey players on there to get that counter-attack going. Man United are the kings of that. Those attacking counter-attacks, full speed, and that's exactly how England got their goal in the first few minutes with Luke Shaw. It was a counter-attack from an Italian corner. And I feel that's something that we really just didn't take advantage of. If you're going to play ultra-defensive, it's one of your main sort of forks of attack, and it was disappointing for me. But I think, obviously, the world will go on. It's time to get back to concentrating on the Premiership now, I suppose, and the World Cup upcoming, in theory, next Christmas should be interesting as well. Be interesting to see where England come out group stage-wise, and obviously they've got to qualify first, but looking at their qualifying group, if they don't qualify, that's going to be a bit of a joke, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, some heroes have been made. Jack Grealish has become some sort of national hero, as I found out. I mean, Jack Grealish coming on the pitch last night in the pub actually got a bigger cheer than Luke Shaw's goal, I'm pretty sure. It was absolutely mad. But yeah, I mean, there's been some heroes, and there's been no zeros, really. Nobody has come out of this in a bad light, apart from the England fans. A portion of the England fans have come out of this in a very bad light. And I hope they know that they may have cost England potentially getting a World Cup or something like that in the future, because the way that everything happened last night, I mean, UEFA and FIFA are going to look at that and think, well, if they can't control the people in their country, we can't give them a World Cup. What's going to happen in the World Cup? People are going to start storming all the stadiums and trying to break in and getting into fights about tickets. It's a disgrace, and it needs to stop, and especially the Twitter stuff. I am not a fan of social media at all. I try and stay away from it, but yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Twitter and Facebook need to have a strong look at themselves. They need to be really clamping down on this stuff now and permanently deactivating accounts. And people have been suggesting about having ID to link up to your account to prove who you are and to have some sort of comeback on anything that you do say. And I think that's not a bad idea, to be honest. But I'm going to stop now because I'm just going around in circles. I'm moaning about a lot of things. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I mean, I'll summarise it. I think England did very well for themselves. I think they tested their luck on quite a few occasions. However, I feel like there were options to, in my opinion, improve things that obviously Southgate didn't go for. He went for a more conservative defensive route, and yeah, for me, I would like to see the team a bit more balanced rather than overly defensive, and yeah, that's what I would like to see. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that England done well? Do you think that they were a bit lucky? Do you think that the media is going a bit over the top with them? Do you think the media is justified in what they're saying? That's a lot of things that I'm still not sure about. I mean, I've got loads more to say on this subject, to be honest with you, but I don't want to bore you anymore, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Of course, if you hit the like button, subscribe, all the other good stuff, and yeah, comment. Let me know what you think down below. I'll try and reply to all of them, as long as it's not just a random string of abuse for no apparent reason. Good night, God bless, Alvida say, love you all, tatty buys.